tonight about some movie adaptations. Another really fun topic. Last week we had a blast. We're gonna have a blast with the last week we did the quiz. We are going to be doing the adaptations tonight. I am sure you guys are much more experienced watchers, experts. I don't know what to call it. What is one called when they know all the movies? Movie reviewers.
Movie
Um,
buff? Movie buffs, yeah.
Movie buffs. Perfect. You are much more movie buff watchers than I am when it comes to Jane Austen. But we're gonna have fun, and I am gonna be making my list of ones that I need to catch up on that I have not seen so far. We're not going to do books that we're reading this week. We'll get to that. We're gonna be recording a video coming up talking about what we've been grabbing lately. So be sure to make sure you're subscribed so you can catch that later. Let's get right into the adaptations. Actually, we always start with a little bit of Jane Austen-ness, whether her characters or what Jane herself is up to. And for our one today, I had to give a nod since we're always saying, Mindy, that you look so nice and warm down there in Florida, and Marigold and I are freezing up here. Me in the Midwest, Marigold, you up east. So I found this week, Jane Austen's niece Fanny wrote in her diary that the weather at Chawton is cold and vile. Kind of fitting, although today, Marigold, we are having some sunny weather though. So we don't have
Definitely.
to we don't have to complain like Fanny did to our diaries tonight. All right. So we're going to kick things off talking about how do you decide which adaptation to watch. And when Mindy pitched this idea, I thought it was really interesting because I never really stopped to think about why do I watch the adaptations that I do. Marigold, I don't know if you'd ever thought about what you watch.
No, I never really thought why certain ones are really my favorite or why I repeat some and definitely don't repeat others.
Yeah. Mindy's always got us thinking here. So we're going to discuss these tonight. So we have which version for Emma? There's so many versions of Emma. It's crazy. Mindy, you kick us off with these.
Well, I wasn't even able to get all of the versions on this slide because there are so many versions and there are so many good versions. I think that's what makes Emma really unique is that they have all been done a little bit differently, but they're done well. Um, One thing I found fascinating about this is that Clueless was actually the earliest recent adaptation, and then it kind of blossomed from there. So we do have the Clueless version with Alicia Silverstone there, and we have Kate Beckinsale as the star in the first 1996, and then Gwyneth Paltrow in the second 1996. Whoever planned that,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
they're completely different versions though, so, you can see where they were really, not they were able to capitalize on the same market, but not produce truly the same thing. And then Emma in 2019 was the TV series, so they definitely expand and really cover more of the text, and everybody, loves Emma, period. We have to make sure that period is in there on Emma 2021 because it's such a statement piece. So ladies, which one or which ones have you seen, not seen? Which one would you pick?
I've seen all of them, and
Okay.
I'm shock you because usually I like the ones that are close to to the text, but, my favorite actually is Clueless. I
Really?
don't know if it's because I'm an '80s, '90s girl, but, I do really like the newest one. I did that first when I first saw it, so Emma 2020 was originally not my favorite, but it's grown on me the more I see it, but Clueless is
Mhm.
still just my favorite. I just as if.
Okay, I'm gonna shock you both because I have never seen Clueless.
Oh,
I know people are always like, "How have you not?" So it's on my list to get to one of these days. Maybe I'll do a watch party with both of you so we can enjoy
yeah.
it. But I believe I've seen all the rest. I used to rewatch the Gwyneth Paltrow version quite a bit. I had it on DVD and it was like an easy rewatch. Um, but I have to say, I think my favorite is the newest one. The first time when I watched it in the theater, I was like, "Eh," but with rewatches, it definitely grew on me, and I just think it's like visually stunning. It is one of my favorite of all of the Austen adaptations just for how they filmed it. I think it's so pretty. I don't know how else to describe it. The color scheme that they used is so pretty.
I agree.
I think, when you talk about it being pretty, to me, this one reminds me of if you were to walk into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, it's almost a confectionery palace.
Yes, yes.
It feels candy coated. And I really like that about that one too. But
I
my favorite is the miniseries. I love the 2009 version. And that has more to do with I feel like the lady there who plays Emma and then the Mr. Knightley, I actually feel like they have some really good chemistry. So I enjoy watching them together. Whereas, like in the 1996 Emma that has Kate Beckinsale in it, she's so young, and the man who plays Mr. Knightley is clearly so much older than her, which is true to the book, but it feels like a very big distance to me, and I'm not sure that it comes off as being realistic then.
mm, that's a great point. That kind of goes back to like appearances and stuff that we've been talking about. And do you feel comfortable with the couple that's playing the romantic leads? And do you feel like they're a good fit? And that influences how you feel about the adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Ooh, which version of Northanger Abbey? Marigold, have you seen both of these?
I have. I actually just recently saw the 1987, and I was surprised. It was pretty good, but I've seen the main character, the actor, Faye Stilney, in so many movies that he was like a villain type person. So it was so difficult to see him being this totally different character. But I do like the 2007 the most.
And
Okay.
Wendy, how about you?
I'm with Marigold. I prefer the 2007 version. I love the actor and actress there. Felicity Jones is just brilliant in
Yes.
everything I've ever seen. I mean, even when she was in Star Wars Rogue One, she's just an amazing actress. But I don't particularly love either of the adaptations. I was actually thinking this is the one, ladies, that we take and we write our own screenplay for Northanger Abbey and we do this some justice
I
because
keep
it needs us.
hoping that somebody's gonna redo this one sometime soon. I don't know if they just don't want to touch this one, but I feel like if somebody came in and did some really good gothic vibes to it, I think they kind of. I have not seen the older one, but I've watched the 2007 one like 10 million times, um, and I think it really gets a lot really well, but it could be even better. Like I love the cutaway scenes that they do. I think that was really fun.
Mhm.
Of her dreaming and her imagination and the way that they play into that. But I would like a darker one even.
I'm
Um,
with you.
I
yeah,
agree. I think there's so much more people could do, and I'm always surprised that this one is not. There's
yes.
so little adaptations. It's like there's so much they can do with this to make it their own.
I would like Shondaland to do this one. I think she would do an amazing job at it.
I
Um,
agree.
totally off topic. Are either one of you watching the detective show that she has that's on right now, The Residents? It's
No.
kind of like um Poirot, but she's a detective and it's in the White House and there's a murder and it's so good. I'm only like 2 episodes in. Um, but if you want mystery vibes, give that one, check it out.
Absolutely.
All right, we've got another one that's been done multiple times. We've got Sense and Sensibility. Anybody have any must-watch favorites out of this list?
For me, again, I am all about the TV series here. So that was, I believe, 2008. Um, I came to this one a little bit late. I didn't watch it until more recently, and I'd actually watched the girl who is the actress who plays Mary Ann. I had watched her in the TV series The Great. And she was wonderful in there, and then I watched her as Marianne, and I have to say, like, when I think of Marianne and Eleanor, those are the 2 women I picture now.
Mm.
So, I really think they did a good job with the TV series.
Marigold, have you seen all of these?
I have not. I have not seen the 71 or 80. I did try at one point to start the 71, but it was like, oh, I don't know if I'm in the mood for that. So I, I will try and try it again. But I like was it 95 and the 2008. I think 95 just came out with such a great like whole slew of amazing Jane Austen movies. But I love the actors in both. I am with you on Mindy, the sister connection and the more accurate one, I do feel like is 2008. I do get more of it, but I loved both of them so much. I'm a huge Emma Thompson fan too, so that was
Mhm.
originally my favorite, but then, I rewatched recently the 2008, and I'm like, "Oh, I really love this one too." I was like, "Oh, this is so hard to choose," so I have to choose both of them.
What about you,
Yeah,
Melissa?
the Emma Thompson one is the one that I had the DVD of. That was like my rewatch. It's definitely, I think, my comfort go-to out of all of the Austen adaptations. That one just is like homey. I don't know if it's like the cottage vibes, but it's really homey. And I just want to say, I feel like the Hallmark Sense and Sensibility. I loved the playfulness with the costumes. Like I kind of liked that they took things in a different direction. I just felt like they didn't have enough time to fully flesh out the movie, and they had a really difficult task that they were up against to try to make it work in that like shorter time frame.
Mhm.
So I'd love to see like a spin-off of that for someone to do because I think it had a lot of potential there. Um, it was just like, trying to take a novel and cram it into a TV show. Like it was difficult
Mhm.
for them.
I feel the same. I enjoyed watching it, but they just cut out so many different parts that I was like, "Oh, it really needed that, though."
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Ooh, Mansfield Park. I did not even realize there was one from the 80s. I had no idea. Okay, so we've got 83, 99, and 2007. Which one are you guys watching?
Well, it's funny that you said you didn't realize there was an 83 because I didn't realize there was a 2007
Oh,
until I started to look up these different adaptations. I'm sure Marigold would have known because you've got your beautiful spreadsheet. I should have just asked you. But I didn't realize the 2007 one existed. So I haven't watched that one yet.
it's a good one. I like the 2007. I've seen the 99 and the 2007. Um, Marigold, which do you think? Do you have a favorite out of those two?
I've seen the last 2. I do not care for the 2007. I may have to rewatch it because it has been quite a while, but I found the actors a bit annoying, but that was just me.
I
So
agree. If you could splice and put the 99 Fanny with the 2007, um,
okay, so you didn't care for that
right.
fan either.
No, the
Okay, that
fan that's like,
just bugs
I mean,
me.
yeah. No, she kind of is annoying. I agree with that.
Okay.
She's kind of insipid is like the best word that comes to mind to describe her. Um, but I think filming wise, they were both okay. But yeah, I can totally see where you're coming from with that one. We will have to check out the 83 version. She
I
looks
I've
know.
seen the
serious.
83. Yeah, I've seen the 83. They do a good job with making her really serious. And I feel like Edmund is equally serious, almost to the point where he sometimes comes off as being a little bit sinister.
Mhm.
Which I don't get that vibe from him in the book, but that's what they
Yeah.
go with in the movie. But I'm gonna pick 99 because I heart Johnny Lee Miller forever and ever. So
I kind of figured I should have asked, but like by default, I knew that was where you're going.
it's so easy to pick when he's involved.
All right, Pride and Prejudice. This could be fighting words for some people to try to pick.
Well, I have to say something up front.
Yes.
Because, when I was creating this, I knew about these 3 versions, and then again, as I'm doing my research, I found out there are more versions that I've never seen and I didn't even know existed. There's a more recent one, I think it was maybe, like, 2007, and they do kind of a modern day twist on it, but it's
Hmm.
still Elizabeth Bennet. And then there was another one, I feel like it maybe was around the 95 time, like, it was maybe 1990 or something. Marigold, you probably know better. Um,
I'm trying to look at my sheet.
uh, but yeah, so for any of our viewers who enjoy those other versions, I apologize. That's on me that they're not here because I didn't even realize they existed. Sorry.
I've been trying to, like, update my sheet better, because I wanted to put it in a format that I could send you guys, so I'm gonna be, finishing it up, but there is a few, I think, different, like, recent ones. There's, like, an Indian one as well and, like, different, um yes, so there is more. I have not seen the 1940. I've been trying to get it, though, because I want to see it so bad because, I love old movies, but, I believe that's Laurence Olivier, and he is
Yes.
just such an amazing actor too, so I've been dying to watch it because I feel like I'll like it, but, everyone knows 95 is my favorite.
Melissa, have you seen the 1940s one?
I have, yes. It
Okay.
actually does a good job. I think the acting is pretty solid. It's just hard to compare because obviously filming is so different now compared to then. So there's like limitations on that. But I do think it's definitely worth watching. I think you're gonna enjoy it, Marigold, when you do get your hands on it to see it.
I think I have it as my library, so I have to, like, actually physically rent it, so I'll
Uh,
have to go in and get that there all the time, and I keep forgetting to try it.
Let us
I
know
was
when you watch it. Mindy, how about you?
I was able to pull up the 1940s, some clips from it on YouTube. And because I hadn't watched that one, but I knew Sir Laurence Olivier and then Greer Garson are in it. And for me, it really had a very close tie, at least in my head, to Gone with the Wind. I think it might be the costuming, but also the way Sir Laurence Olivier is, his actions are styled. He's very much more forward and aggressive, and reminds me a lot of Clark Gable, his Rhett Butler. So I do love Gone with the Wind. So that is not in any way a dig on the 1940s version. It's just information.
I think it is interesting because a lot of them were stage actors as their former profession. Not that what actors today aren't as well, but I think that it does come across they're much more intentional with their body language and movement in the older movies like that. Which I think also kind of comes across in Gone with the Wind a little bit as well. The way that they were not as loose and but I do think that he fits the Mr. Darcy kind of profile really well.
Mhm.
Y'all are, like, more regal back then. You just had this suave, like, different way of acting than actors do now. Love actors now, but just the old movies, just you can't beat them.
Well, but 1995 is my favorite, of course. I just have to throw that out there.
Yes. And same for me. It's so good. And I think it has the time to get in all the scenes that we want to see and to really like let the movie turn into the novel, but to let it breathe. And
Mhm.
it's just iconic for a reason.
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, Tuffy, Persuasion. So has anybody seen the 71
No,
Persuasion? No, I haven't either.
on the list.
This one's hard to pick. Okay, Mindy, which one are you picking?
I have only seen the last 3 one time a piece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm gonna abstain on this one because in my head, I feel like I really liked the Anne in the 2007 version, but I dig Dakota Johnson in 2022. I know when I watched that, I did not enjoy the version overall, but I do. I mean, even that little face there, I like her as Anne. And I think she's concealing something, which is fun for the Anne character.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Marigold.
abstain.
For me then.
I don't think anyone has to ask me. I am 1995.
I
I'm
love it. It is such a good one. I have not seen 71, but I love all three equally because I feel like we were talking about Emma having all these Emmas. I feel like Persuasion, like they each have their own merits of why they're so good. Like the Sierra and Hines one, they're great together. Their chemistry is so good. The 2007 one, the way that they shot it is just like I adore, like, I just watch it for how they filmed and, like, weaving through and going up the stairs and the carriage, like, it's so good, and I really love how playful the 22 version is, and I know it's not for everybody, but I really enjoy that one, and I watched all of them probably, well, the newest one maybe 5 times, and the others easily a dozen each. Like, Persuasion is, if it's not Sense and Sensibility that I'm rewatching, Persuasion is, like, my favorite to rewatch.
So the
Alright.
heart of this research piece here is what comes up next, where when we were first discussing this idea, we were trying to figure out not just what do we watch, but why. Why do we watch certain adaptations? What draws us to them? And so I actually conducted a poll, and thank you to everyone who responded. We had an overwhelming response. I was so
Love
happy.
it.
Yeah, I was so happy to see so many different responses. And so lots of people, they answered the prompt I gave, but I also had some write-ins that were really interesting where people gave other reasons for why, why they picked a certain adaptation. So we do have the most faithful to the book. Um, Ladies, which one do you feel like was the most faithful to the book from the Emmas?
I wanna say 2009. I could be wrong, but that would be my gut feeling.
I can agree with that.
Okay.
Mindy, do you have one that you think?
Oh, no, I think you're right.
Oh, okay. You'll agree with us? You would
Uh,
tell us if you didn't agree.
Initially, I when I prompted this idea to the ladies, I thought that lots of people picked what they watched based on the attractiveness of the actors or actresses. And so, of course, I had to throw our boys from Pride and Prejudice up here just to see, ladies, who's your pick?
Has to be Colin.
That's my first one, but I don't know, Olivia looked pretty handsome in that. But Colin's my fave.
Me too. I think we all dream of Colin first. So
Yes.
We're like, in, Austen Land, where she's got the cardboard cut out in her bedroom and the I Heart Darcy pins and all that.
yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
This is one of those that I'm sure a lot of people take into account, even if they're not thinking of it like right off the top of their head. But I know, Melissa, this is true for you, where it's like, I own this DVD or I own it on streaming. I can find it on streaming for free, therefore I can watch it, a lot. So, and I just put a couple of DVDs up here, but out of the two of you, what would you say is something you own that you've watched over and over?
Only Jane Austen picks? Or like,
Yes, only Jane Austen.
um,
I've seen Pride and Prejudice 95 an embarrassing amount of times.
I was gonna say, I think overall it's probably that for me as well. Just
Okay.
for, like, the length of time that I've had the DVD set, I probably watched that one the most. What about you, Mindy?
I'm the same as you two, but mine is for a very specific reason. I actually own 3 DVD copies of the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, because I when I would need sick days, I would stay at home and I would watch the whole series. But then when I would go to school, I had the opportunity to teach Pride and Prejudice. So I had copies of the DVD at school as well so that I could share it with my students. So I have quite a few copies of that DVD.
That's good because if anything happens to one, you've got backups.
Yes, I
Now, have
do.
either of you seen the remastered version that's streaming? I really want to watch that.
I don't know if it's the one that's on Amazon, but I purchased, like, a lot of things on Amazon for work, and they give, like, those rewards, and I accumulate them, and I've been buying all of the movies through
Oh,
the
nice.
streaming, so I have a lot of them on there, so whenever I feel like watching, I have them available. I don't know if the one I have is remastered, I'll have to go double check, but It's my
When it
go-to.
first came out, they would always advertise that it was only the one on, the Passport, the
Mm.
BBC, whatever app thing, so I don't know if it's still only on there or if it's expanded now. That was a few years ago, I think, but it looks so clear when I've seen it. Like I think we don't really realize it because we're used to watching it being a little grainy, and when you see how clear their outfits are and everything, I feel like it's gonna be like rewatching it for the first time all over again.
Absolutely. It's like watching I always love, I love The Wizard of Oz, and when I
Mhm.
always had the VHS. Whenever I saw it on DVD for the first time, I was like, "Wow." Like watching it all for new the first time. It was amazing.
This one, I know that it sounds a lot like being faithful to the book, but I think that there are versions of Jane Austen's adaptations that can be not so faithful to the book, but when you look at the actors or actresses, you're like, yes, that's Mr. Whomever, or
Yeah.
oh, that's definitely this character. So it is just a little bit different. And I wanted to ask, do either of you have an actor or actress that you think just hits the mark for what Jane Austen intended?
I think Emma Thompson. Like, she's definitely older than the character should be, but she just, like, feels like she plays that role so well that I couldn't really picture anybody else in that part once I saw that version. Marigold, how about for you?
I'm trying to think of any I know I always talk about the Persuasion, but and I always forget his name, but, the, main Wentworth, that actor, like, really, like, identify, like, I just feel like he's that one. So every time they have an adaptation, I have a hard time seeing someone else as that character because I feel like he just his stoicness and he hides the feeling, and then when he writes it all out, it's just poured out there. He becomes that character to me. So, and I've seen him in other things. I think Jane Eyre, and he's so good at in that one too, of Mr. Rochester. And I was like, oh God, he's just really good at becoming this character. I think that's why I like him so much because he just becomes that character. It's just like how I love Johnny Depp because he becomes whatever character he is so much that it's so believable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mindy, how about for you?
Well, I'm gonna say this, and you both are gonna think this is just Mindy being crazy. Um, but
Never.
oh, I don't know. But I have only ever watched the 2005 Pride and Prejudice a handful of times, but every time I see it, I think the actor who plays Wickham is exactly how I picture Willoughby.
Oh,
Oh,
that's not where I thought you were.
Random,
I know. I was
right?
like, yeah, you could
I
use
was
this
like,
one.
yes. Oh.
Completely random. But
Really?
there's something about, like, the prettiness of his face. I don't think he's as roguish as Wickham is
Hmm.
in my head. I think that he's more a little bit sweeter, if that makes any sense at all. And his delivery, I don't feel like it's as calculated as Wickham is. I feel like it's more of that Willoughby where it's almost genuine. And so for me, when I see him, I'm like, oh, it's Willoughby. And then he's Wickham and it just doesn't like, it doesn't jive for me.
So you would want like a more evil touch to your Wickham? Is that what you're looking for?
I love the 95 Wickham. There's something about that man's address where he just stands like a proud peacock. And, he had, I think we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago with that sense of entitlement that Wickham has for whatever reason. And I feel like the 95 actor is just amazing with that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I know that's completely is off base. But when I see 2005 Wickham, I really am looking at Willoughby.
I can get that now that I'm like picturing them in my head. He does kind of seem a little boyish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're not
Uh,
crazy.
the next one's kind of straightforward, but I wanted to again do this research because I love doing the research. So and I know for a lot of people, again, this might not be the biggest factor, but certainly the amount of time you do put into watching something might make a difference in how often you're rewatching it. So, I just went with the Emma adaptations here. And I actually really thought it was fascinating that a few of them are hovering right around that 2 hour mark, you know?
Mhm.
It's almost like that was the cutoff. Let's stay to 2 hours if we possibly can. Um, but yeah, so this is the length of runtime. Do you two feel like the runtime makes a difference to you?
Yes. Like, when it's a big difference, like 3 hours and 49 minutes versus 2 hours, or like the 95 Pride and Prejudice, I would rewatch that a million more times, but it's like, you gotta be like, you're sick. That's like everybody's thing to watch when you're sick, or you've like got a full weekend to yourself because it's such a commitment.
I
What about
agree.
you, Marigold?
I think it depends on, like, when you're watching it. So, like, if I'm watching it while I'm working or doing something else, I can do maybe a longer one versus if I'm sitting down and I only have, like, before I fall asleep, I'll at night, I'll be like, "Oh, I feel like watching this." I'm like, "Am I sleepy?" Because I will not make it through the 6 hour or the
Aw.
3 hour, but I might make it through the 1.5 hour. Okay, I'll start that one because I
What
have to
about
see
you,
the end of
Mindy?
it.
Well, I'm with you too. It's tough to make that investment when you know that it's going to take longer. So, but I still think that I if I'm going to spend the time, I'm going to do it right. So I'll I'll sit there for 6 or 7 hours if need be. On this slide, I made sure to throw in the 2018 musical adaptation of Emma, which is currently available on Tubi for free, because it hovers right there around that 2 hour mark. And I do not always have the best impressions of the musical adaptations of Jane Austen's work, but this one is very cleverly done and it's cute and it's funny. So if anybody has the opportunity to watch the 2018 version of Emma the Musical, I do recommend spending that hour and 59 minutes.
I'll have to check that one out.
These came to us from the people who took the poll. So again, these are kind of ones that came in on the back end. And someone said this, and I thought that it was just brilliant. They said they continue to watch the adaptation that just happened to be the one they watched first.
Mm.
Like whether they'd read the book or not, this was the adaptation that brought them to Jane Austen.
Marigold, which one was it for you?
I can see that, like, because you just fall in love with that
Hmm.
version, then it's hard it's just kinda like, do you watch the book or you read the book? If you read the book first, then you've got that in your head, so it's that first I would have to say, I think Pride and Prejudice 95 was my first one I'd ever watched, so that may be why I love it so much. I never thought of that.
Mindy, what about you?
I think it's either Pride and Prejudice or it might have been Clueless because they were right there in that same time, same year. And I was very into Clueless. I remember, I really wanted just to live in Cher's closet. So I know that makes no sense to you, Melissa.
I
Sorry.
know enough of it. Like, I just haven't seen the whole thing, but I get the references.
Or having movie night.
Melissa, do you have an adaptation you think was your first watch?
I know, without a doubt, it was 95, Pride and Prejudice, and I hadn't read Austen. I mean, I'm sure I knew Jane Austen, but, that was, like, my gateway, to Jane Austen, and I'm sure that's why it's my favorite, and if it wasn't for time, it would definitely be my most rewatched.
The next one on here, and this is again another comment from someone who took our poll. So thank you for contributing. It was, I watch depending on my mood. If I'm in this mood, I'll pick this or that or, wherever I am. So how do you two feel about that? Are you mood watchers?
Yes.
Absolutely. Just like reading, I'm the same way. If I start a book and I'm not in the mood, I'll just switch it to something else. So I definitely have to read or watch while I'm in a certain mood.
Yeah. What about you, Mindy?
I think Marigold summed it up perfectly. Depending on my mood, I might be a little more into something that feels a little lovelier, or I want to see the beautiful scenery because I want to be there. So I definitely think mood has something to do with it. Um, I thought this one was fun. And again, this came from, just somebody contributing, but they said it depends on who's watching with me. If I'm watching with a friend, or if I'm watching with someone who's never seen this stuff before, or if I'm watching with my husband, or significant other, it's like, I don't really want to force them to watch something they're not going to like. So I don't know. Do either of you run into this where you're trying to watch with someone else, so you pick based on what might suit them?
I don't think I've watched any of Jane Austen with other people.
I mostly watch on my own. If I don't, it's with my mom, and she's like, "Oh, you just pick whatever one you want to see," and she like lets me decide, and I'll kind of normally give her like, "Oh, do you feel like this one, this one, this one?" But I mean, we had the same DVDs of the same. She loves Emma Thompson, Sense and Sensibility, Gwyneth Paltrow. I think she still has the DVDs. So yeah, I don't really have to keep anybody else happy when it comes to my Austen watching. What about you, Mindy?
I generally don't watch it when anybody else is around either, but I definitely have kids and a husband who walk in all the time. They're like, watching.
Did they join you, or did they just walk by?
Sometimes, especially my husband will join. The last time I went through all the Emmas, he got to sit down and watch a few. And my eldest son definitely came in when I was watching the Emma with Johnny Lee Miller, and he sat down and watched it with me, and he's like, "Why is Sherlock like that?"
I love that. That's awesome.
And then, of course, I had to pay homage to some that are our favorites that do not have alternatives. We have Love and Friendship, which is Lady Susan. And then we have Sanditon, which is based on the unfinished novel Sanditon. And I know that we all love these, but as of right now, there are no other options for adaptations except these great versions.
They're
Love
just
that.
they can't make better ones. They're just amazing.
Our final question here, and this was something I think Melissa mentioned, is that when you're watching these adaptations, do they change the way you interpret the book, or do they change the way you see a specific character? Do either of you have a kind of closing thought on that, where the adaptation has changed you?
I do. I think like it's almost like the director, producers, literary criticism of the book and the way that they view it, they see it, and it's going to be controversial. But I really do think that the Netflix Persuasion gave me a different way to look at Anne Elliot, and that maybe she's not so like maybe she is good and she's going along with what everybody wants, but like internally she's day drinking and she's like had it with everyone. And I think there like I kind of saw more to it's just obviously our interpretation, but like read behind the lines and kind of see her in a new light a little bit. Um, not to say it's like right or wrong or whatever. It just gave me a different look at Anne's character and how they portrayed her. What about for you guys?
Marigold?
I was just gonna say, I think it's funny that I just reread The Persuasion and I saw Anne from the 95 while I was so I
Mhm.
think if you connected with a certain actress in it, when you go to read it, sometimes you'll actually see them as you're reading it. So she's become that that
That's a
character
great
for me.
point.
For me, the 1995 version of Sense and Sensibility is in my head as I'm even thinking of it. I think, isn't it lovely? Because it is. Everything about that adaptation is so sun-soaked and sun-dappled, and everything is so beautiful, from the gorgeous actresses to the good-looking actors, and just I feel like it's a sunny version of a story that when I read it, I don't always see this happy disposition.
Mm.
Um, for instance, I don't, when I think of Edward, I don't think of him being the slightly goofy and adorable Hugh Grant. That doesn't pop to my mind. So when I do take the time to watch that adaptation, it does put more of an optimistic spin, I guess, for me on Sense and Sensibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the most recent one I've seen, and now all I keep thinking is, "Matthew." So sometimes the other characters in other shows can affect it too, because I'm like, "It's so hard to see." I just fell in love with him as Matthew, and now it's very difficult to see him as Edward, but he did a very good job. I enjoyed that. I actually surprised I liked it so much more than I remembered.
I have a question for both of you that my husband and I always talk about with Marvel characters and how sometimes there's characters that you watch the movie and you cannot picture anyone else playing that role. So, like, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man is like no one else for our generation, I think, can become Iron Man. He just so perfectly played that part. And I think Chris Evans as Captain America is like iconic in the role that he played. Even though I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor, I feel like Thor could kind of be replaced with other people. I think Hulk could kind of be other people, and I'd probably be okay with it. Ant-Man, like some of these other characters, even though they great in their roles, like it's not like that immediately like comes to mind. Is there one character for you that like is irreplaceable as in an adaptation? Like you could see it redone and there could be other characters mixed in, but like they are that character for you.
It's got to be 1995, Jennifer Eiley as Elizabeth Bennet. She, to me, is not just Elizabeth Bennet, but she's Jane Austen.
Mm,
I think from her look to her personality to her delivery, everything about her is pure perfection.
she's so good.
Her and Colin Firth, I those are the 2 that really again, when I reread it, that's who I see the 2 of them because it's just they are perfectly roles, the cast for that roles.
I don't think you guys could have picked better people. Like that totally sums it up. They just do such a good job as those characters. Even though other ones are good, it's just so hard to like there's perfection in the roles that they played.
And they're worth the 6-hour watching, it really is. Every minute.
And I do, of course, because I've referenced it so many times, I did go ahead and put the results from the poll in here. The majority of people, as you can see, said that they pick what to watch based on which is most faithful to the book. So that's almost 64%. I thought that was really great. And then we have the next one would be in line with what the author was thinking. That was closer to the 23.5%. Our runtime is only at 2%. Is it free to watch? That hovered right near the 9%. And then there were obviously some other answers in there. I wanted to say, just because I know you both are going to want to know this, count it, 0 people said they picked which adaptation to watch based on the attractiveness of the actors or actresses.
That is interesting.
Right?
I
Yeah.
yeah, we have to dig into that some more.
Yeah,
I
That'd be
thought
kind of
that was
awesome.
gonna be, like, the overwhelming.
I know. That's totally what I thought too. And so I threw this slide in here for those of you who are watching us as a replay and didn't maybe get to take the poll in real time. We would love to know what you think. Please leave us a message in our comment section here on YouTube, and get in touch if you agree with the majority and you think it's the most faithful adaptation to the book, or if there's another option on here, or if you've come up with some other completely different reason. We would love to know.
And don't forget, we have our April book club discussion coming up on Saturday, May 3rd. Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley. It's going to be, I think, a quite in-depth discussion with this book. There's going to be a lot to talk about, so that is going to be a lot of fun. And then we also have our upcoming chats. I was just watching the trailer again this afternoon for Miss Austen, which I think is going to be more enjoyable now after having just read the book, because I had a bit more context to the trailer, and I think watching the episodes now is gonna be fun. So we'll be watching those and then chatting about them, so if you want to join along with us, here is the schedule for that coming up. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in our talk about adaptations. Thank you, Mindy, as always, for putting together the slides for us. I was kind of surprised by some of the results. I thought that maybe free was going to be a little bit higher. I was really surprised that the lead was how faithful it was to the adaptation, which does make sense as to why the Netflix Persuasion was so disliked. Seeing your poll, it gives us a little insight into Austen v fans. I would love if you leave in the comments and let us know if we were having a watch party, which movie adaptation would you pick for us to watch together? I think it'd be a lot of fun to see what everybody picks for that one. So until next week, we will see you guys later. Take care and happy reading. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.